Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming to my YouTube channel. My name is Lexash, and today I'm going to be showing you how I edit one of my images. Now, I've shown other editing videos, but this one is going to show you a little bit more detail, and I'm going to be looking at the camera and talking about it as I'm doing it, and at the same time showing you my screen to see so you can see every tiny bit of detail of how I do this. My process is very simple. I love to use Lightroom to do all my color grading work and then take it into Photoshop, retouch, save it back into Lightroom, and then export from there. The reason why it helps me to manage my files very easily, and it helps me to just have I can compare and contrast, and I can always go back to re-edit anything I need to change, and it just keeps my process very seamless. Now, a lot of people use Camera Raw, a lot of people use Capture One, but I have used Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, for the longest time, and it's still my go-to till now. If you use Camera Raw, I'm sure a lot of the things that I do is going to be applicable there as well. You can just extrapolate to do what it is you like, and then see how it works. So yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing I will do is, I've not even picked the image that I want to edit for this particular video. I think I'll go with this one. So I've already color graded this, so I'm going to strip it off that, and I'm going to start over just so you see how I got to this. So I'm going to reset it, and that's what I'm doing right now. So reset. So now keep in mind, I personally love to shoot in black and white. That's why you can see these images in black and white. I love to shoot in black and white. The reason is because I want to focus on composition, clarity, sharpness when I'm shooting, and the way the light falls on the subject, rather than thinking of the colors, because I feel like most of the time colors can be changed. But make sure that if you're going to do this, you're shooting in a RAW, so that you can always change the pictures from black and white to color. If you shoot in JPEG, if you shoot in PNG, chances are you will not be able to change it back. So I always shoot in RAW, and that's why I'm able to do this. So yes, like you can see, it's in black and white. I shot it a Fujifilm X-T4, and I used the camera across. That's one of the image styles within the Fujifilm system. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the color, but not just any color. I'm going to be changing it to one of the color sciences that's within the Fujifilm system, and that is, I think I want to go for classic negative for this one. Now, as you can see, it has changed the color. It has changed from black and white to color, but if you look closely enough, you see that there's a lot of like warmth and yellows in the mid-tones and shadows. So to counterbalance that just a little bit, I'm going to come to the color grading panel in Lightroom, and I'm going to add some blues to the midtones, just for it to have a little bit. Now keep in mind, I'm going for a retro feel for this image. So bear with me. I'm going to try and tweak a little here and there too. Of course, the picture already looks lovely. The colors already look very beautiful and vibrant, but I have a specific feel I'm going for, and I'm just going to tilt the image towards that. So like I said, I'm going to adjust the color grading slightly towards blue, and then increase the blue just ever so slightly. And as you can see, it's affecting the background. I love the beautiful tone the background is already having at this point. And yeah, it's looking great already, but I still see that there's some green, there's some yellow in the shadows at this point as well. So I'm going to come to the tone curve and counterbalance that yellow slightly with some blue. So if you take it down, it's going towards yellow, as you can see, more yellow. But I'm going to take this up a little bit, and then do the same thing towards the shadow end, just so that some of that blue comes back into the darker parts of the image. And yeah, that's what it looks like. Without that, this is what it is. This is what it is. So now I'm getting a little bit of magenta, too much magenta in the image. So I'm going to reduce this ever so slightly, just small, and then come to this place and take down the magenta slightly as well. And there I have something that works a little bit. I'm going to add some warmth to the image, just so that I still get some of that skin work. I think what I did here is a little too much, so I'm just going to take it down ever so slightly. Yeah, so a lot of my work requires me going back and forth, trying to, until I see what looks good for me. And so I think I like what it looks like here. I want some of that green in, and the twine around her arm to come out a little bit more. So I'm going to come here and enhance the green here as well. And yeah, I love what it looks like. I like the pink, but I want the pink to come out a little more. So I'm just going to enhance the pink more, just using the magenta slider. And that looks amazing to me. I love what it looks like right now. I'm going to increase the vibrance ever so slightly as well. And I haven't even touched the brightness because it was properly exposed, but just to increase it a little bit, I'll just take the shadows up. That warmth needs to come up a little bit more, and I think I'm good. I'm just going to crop it now, just so that I lose some of that excess, wall behind her, and the same thing here as well. And that is it. I love the blue background behind her. It looks beautiful. I love the way her dress contrasts against it. I love her skin tone in this image. It looks stunning. Yeah, and as you can see, there's no makeup on her face actually for this image. There's no makeup at all. Yeah, so I'm excited to finally get to working on the picture in Photoshop. Yes, I just wanted to check if the audio was working. Yes, I'm excited to take this picture now into Photoshop. I don't really need to do anything else. I'm just going to take the picture into Photoshop now to clean the backdrop, fill it in, expand it just a little bit, and do some skin work on her face, and that's pretty much what I need to do. So let's take this into Photoshop. To do that, I'm going to press Command E, which is, so we're now in Photoshop, and you can see the image is already looking beautiful, like I said. But now to take this a step further, I'm going to clean up the background and expand it a little bit. So to clean up the background, to expand it such that this particular part of the image is not showing, first thing I'm going to do is select subject. I don't want anything I'm working on to affect the subject of the image. So select subject, and as you can see, it has, using some form of AI, or it has slightly, so I always use a pen to do my retouching work, so it's more accurate. And so as you can see, to a certain extent it has done a great job, but there are some parts of it that it didn't select, so I'm just going to add those parts. So I'm going to click on J to pick the is it clone stamp tool? Not clone stamp tool, the selection tool, basically. Yeah, just so that I can add the parts of the selection of the image that it didn't select. Yes, so I think that's good. Some of her hair is lost here. That's good as well. I want to include some of this, her earring as well. I can see that it didn't select it. What else? So there's this part of it that's selected and I don't want it to include. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So I like what it looks like now. I'm going to click on Command J to duplicate this part of the image. On Windows, to be Control J, by the way. So I'm going to just do the same thing again, but without having to go through the entire process. I'm just going to select the whole thing on the new layer, right? And then if I press V, I've gone to the move tool. Give me a second. Rectangular marquee, and then I press to the right. Now what that does is that it moves the selection that it recognizes in the image, it moves it to the right. Now the only reason why I did that was because I don't want to do the select subject again, because I had to add all those things. So by doing this now, to just focus on the parts that are selected, and then I'm going to move that back to the left again, and then invert the selection by pressing Command Shift I, then going back to the background and Command J again. So now if you look at the layers, we see that I have selected the subject, separated it, and I have selected the background and separated it. Now whatever I do on the background will not affect the full image anymore. Whatever I do on the subject will not affect the full image anymore as well. So now that I have the background separated, I can now just come straight to it and select the part of the background that doesn't fit what I'm looking for, which is like this part that's where the image spills, and then I'm just going to say content aware fill. So now, because the skin and the model is not there, it will not sample any of that part. Just sample the parts of the image that look and feel like what we are looking for, and there we go. So okay, And as you can see, very, very simply, the background is filled up. And then I can merge those layers, and I can now expand it even further. So now I want to create more. I also want to keep in mind, if you're posting on Instagram, it has to be 8 by 7, 8 by, it has to be 5 by 4, not 8 by anything, 5 by 4. And if I was to put this image out like this, it's going to either crop some of the size or it's going to look square, and I want it to fill the screen of your phone whenever you look at it. So I'm going to come straight to crop and expand it just enough that when just enough so that it doesn't crop the hands of the model. So when I do that, I'm going to select content aware fill, and it's just going to sample some of that blue background. Ooh, my apologies, I picked the wrong layer. So here again, that's what it is. So I'm going to now crop it to fill that, like I said, initial thing, and then agree, and then it will just fill in with the background. As you can see, I didn't have to do much to fill the background in. So now I can see some discrepancies here. So I'm just going to use the patch tool to kind of just even that out a little bit. Just a little bit of something here, just to kind of clean it up well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see, just a few steps and the background is already pretty decent. There's not much else to do. So now I'm going to go into the retouching of it. So to do that, I'm going to first of all merge these 3 layers, and I'm going to use my frequency separation action. If you want me to drop this for you, I can share with you. Just let me know in the comments below. If you want to see my frequency separation action, please drop a comment below and I'll share it with you. So I just run the advanced frequency separation, and now a lot of people ask what's the best radius to use when doing frequency separation, and I always say it depends on how much of the skin is in the image. Now, the further away the model is from the camera, the smaller the radius, or the smaller your radius should be, because there's less to work with when you're retouching. And then the closer, so like for beauty images, you should be looking at somewhere between 14, 15, between 13 and 17 pixels for the radius. Whereas if it's a full body model shoot, maybe like a fashion shoot where there's like a lot of space around the model, maybe the model is way into it, you should be looking at somewhere between 4, 5, and then the further away, the lower it goes. So for this image, for example, I'm going to be using between 5 and 6. So I think 6 is a good number, and I'm going to say okay. So there we go. So we have the high frequency layer and the low frequency layer. If you want to know how to retouch using all of these things, you can always go to my page. I have gone full detail into how to retouch. So I'm not going to take time to really explain everything that I'm doing with this particular retouching. But yeah, if you want to see how I retouch and how I think about it in very excruciating detail, I'm going to put it somewhere below. So yeah, that's it. So I'm just going to go in now and begin to edit. I'm going to start with the low frequency layer using mixer brush. These are my values, and then I'm just going to go and clean up. One thing to note is that this particular model doesn't have any makeup on. She just has lip gloss on her lip. So there's no foundation covering her face. There's no primer, none of that. And part of my job as a retoucher in this instance is to try and even out her skin tones and make sure that there's minimal discoloration, but I still have to maintain the shadows and the highlights where they are as well. So I'm not going to do much to remove the highlights as they fall or the shadows where they fall. I'm just going to even out the transitions and make it look very, 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 very sweet. Something to notice that if you use the right radius and if you use the right aperture where you're shooting, all those things affect the texture of the skin and how they look in the end. So knowing how to shoot is more important, if you ask me, than knowing how to retouch or edit. And a lot of people get it wrong because they think that is the editing that brings the image, that makes the image good. But if you have a bad image, there's not much you can do in the editing that's going to make it better. So I always recommend people to make sure that they are good and learn the photography and the science of it more before they start thinking of learning all the editing and the retouching. And yeah. So I'm just going to do minimal mixer brush on the body and the skin because the textures are pretty even in general. And then the light fall is pretty balanced as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm in a good place right now. I didn't have much to do, as you can see. Um, her face is pretty decent, not a lot of issues to work with. And so yeah, we have something pretty good. And that's what it looks like in the widescreen. This is what it looks like close up. I'm not trying to over retouch or to over clean her skin. I just want it to be natural without having too much blemishes that distract. Let me just take out that as well. Take out this line. So another thing that's important is to zoom out and zoom in from time to time while you're retouching, just so that you can see everything, both how it to be experienced, and you can also get some of that detail in. And that's pretty much it. I love how it looks like, and at this point I can just merge the image, and it's as simple as that. Now something else I would like to do is to remove some of the fact that differentiates the wall as the pattern against the wall from the floor. So I'm just going to, on the low frequency layer, just blend it down. So this is another way you can use to clean your backdrop, but it's a little longer and more stressful. But if you want to get some, if you're doing some commercial work and you have some time to take detail into account, you can also use frequency separation on the background to kind of clean out the blemishes and shadows and all of those things. So it's something that I do once in a while, as you can see. Yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I can now merge the image and save back to Lightroom. So once you click on save, it changes it to a TIFF file, as you can see, and it goes back straight into Lightroom. And so you can see the before and the after. So this is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like now. So as you can see, this is what it was before. You can see the edges, and look at what it looks like right now. And yeah, we have what we need. And from here, I can export. Now, also some people always ask me how I export my images. Is very simple. I just say Command E. Oh, sorry, my apologies. That's to take it to the Photoshop. So some people actually ask me how I export my images. So to export, I just come to File, Export, and I just select the folder I want to export it to. I always, so make sure it's JPEG as well. I always keep my quality at 100. I don't like to reduce my file size. where I reduce the size of the images where I resize to fit. So I just take that now to 3.5, 3,000, 4.5, depending on what I'm going for on the long edge, right? And I put my resolution between 240 and 300. And if I want to put a watermark on it, I can just do that. I've already loaded one before, and then I export and say show in file. And once I click, and there you go. That's the final image. Look at that. Very beautiful. Yeah. If you want to see how I shot this image from start to finish, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can check, and it will be one of the next few videos to come out. So don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. If you have any questions about my process, please ask, and I will respond to that in one of my next videos. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe. You can follow me on IG as well at the Lexash. Till next time, it's Lexash.